noticed. But Downing Street has ruled out the idea of an army draft for now, after a top army official warned that Britons could face conscription if the country finds itself at war. Well, he sort of implied that. He was a bit more subtle than that, to be fair.
Yes, well, that's as Tory MP Tobias Ellwood, who we're actually speaking to a little bit later on in the show, said that the current state of world politics is reminiscent of 1939 due to ongoing conflict in both the Middle East and Ukraine.
Well, in the meantime, NATO has started its biggest military exercise since the Cold War, with 90,000 troops mobilising to show the world that it can defend its territory against a potential attack from Russia.
So we're asking this morning, could the younger generation cope with war?
Yeah, I don't know about the younger generation. What about any of us?
It's anyone under
frankly
55,
now.
Maybe, yeah.
Let's talk to former British Army Spokesperson Major Mike Shearer, alongside political commentator Alex Petropoulos. Good to see you both this morning. Mike?
Yep, good to see you.
What do you think? Could we cope with another conflict?
Well, we probably will have to. I mean, the reality is our current Foreign Secretary, David Cameron, when he was the Prime Minister, has hollowed out the military. I mean, the army, if we look at it, is now 72,500. That won't even fill Wembley. And in normal military parlance, it takes 1,000 individuals under arms to constitute an army. And we don't have that. We basically have a home defence force. Now, if we want to have influence from our Foreign Office, you need to have an iron fist in a velvet glove, and we simply don't have that at the moment.
Alex, do you think we're able for war?
You know, I think there are certainly problems with our current state of our military, but I don't think that, looking at it as just we need to boost conscription no matter what, we need to just get the number up is necessarily the solution. I think that it's quite a nuanced question. We need to modernise our military. But I think there are lots of ways to do that. And I think that if we actually want to boost numbers, conscription isn't necessarily the way to go about that. We could look at things like allowing maybe people from the EU who've settled in the country, who live in the country, who work in the country, who call it their home practically, let them join the army.
Well, hold on. Why would you say it's not important for the numbers to go up? Because if you want to defend our territory as well as lend our support to those places that need it, and we are part of NATO, of course, then we do need bigger numbers, don't we? And more money, better supplies, better equipment.
I think it's pretty nuanced. We had record numbers of vessels in our Navy in the 1940s and 1950s, and the numbers have gone down from that. That doesn't mean that our Navy is less powerful than it was in 1940, right? The nature of our military
I would think it probably does. Well, you raised that point. Let's put that to Mike. What do you think? Do fewer vessels and fewer sailors mean we're a less capable Navy, Mike?
Look, there is a notion, a very progressive notion, bots, not boats, and that goes really across the armed forces, the combined joint teams, so the Army, the Navy and the Air Force. But look, that has to be for the birds. You need equipment, you need manpower. The notion that we can get away with gadgets, they can be defeated. Every time we develop a new armour, we develop another munition by which we can defeat it. And at the end of the day, sometimes what you need is a man on the ground with a rifle and a bayonet to cross that river. Because you cannot do that on the notion that our new gadgets will do it, and so less is more. Just enough, just in time. It's never enough. It's never on time. We need to build it now. We should be on a Cold War footing now. When we were doing this prior to 1991, when the USSR capitulated, we had 155 soldiers in the British Army, 55,000 of which were stationed in Germany. But if you look now at the border that we're talking about, that we're going to need to defend in Europe, we're talking about from the Barents Sea to the Black Sea. The countries that will be involved in this, who will be right up against the metal of this, will be Norway, Finland, the Baltic states, Poland, Romania, Bulgaria, and in the fullness of time, Ukraine. You cannot do that piecemeal with Dad's army. You need to invest, and we need to do it now.
Alex, is now the time to be seeing more investment in terms of GDP? I mean, currently at 2%. Many would say it needs to be much higher, especially in this time of geopolitical angst.
I'd have to disagree with that. I think the country is in a position where we're no longer in the position where we can be the protector of the West. We can do our part, and we should play our part, but our part isn't going to be this super nation, this superpower force. And, we should look at ways we can boost our forces. But, like I said, if recruitment is an issue, if we're struggling to get enough people into the armed forces, we should look at tackling that question rather than just throwing money at the problem. We should look at policy levers available to us to boost the numbers. We should say, asylum seekers who are applying for asylum in the country, maybe they should be allowed to be fast-tracked if they join the military, right? Or people who are other forms of immigrants, maybe immigrants coming from NATO countries who live in the country, why can't they join the army, right?
Well, that's an interesting point. Look, we'll leave it there. Alex, Mike, thank you both very much indeed. I don't really think sort of getting migrants to join up is the answer, or pulling policy levers. I have to say, I think it's about investment and having a good, strong army. I tell you what, Craig's been in touch. Morning, Craig, who says an army we never use is exactly what we need. It needs to be of size and capability to act as a deterrent to the likes of Russia. I don't know why we have this attitude now where we don't sort of think we need to be able to protect ourselves or protect our allies.
Protect the West, yeah.
We've got to be... And as Mike says, we've got a home defence force now, not an army, in terms of those numbers. Can I just ask you, Mike, if you build the reservists in, does that take us over 100,000? Are we reliant on the army with reservists?
Yeah, this is a false economy, though. And the reservists are very useful. There's no question about that. But we shouldn't be playing... When we have a strategic defence review and they say this is all, we're now looking at what we can and what we need to do going forward. Actually, what they have is a strategic defence spending review. And they're looking at the money, not actually what it is that we need to be able to defend ourselves against.